Don't fuck around. Just do it. You are currently standing at the intersection of who you are and who you were meant to be. The only thing standing between those two people is the lie you call waiting for the right time. The truth? The right time is a ghost. It doesn't exist. There's only the pulse in your wrist and the breath in your lungs. It is time to stop negotiating with your greatness. It is time to stop being a spectator to your own life. Silence the noise. Kill the hesitation. It's time to move. Chapter 1. The Anatomy of the Stall. The only thing standing between you and your goal is the story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it. Tony Robbins. Close your eyes for a moment, or keep them open and look at the world around you with a new, piercing clarity. You are not stuck because you lack talent. You are not standing still because you lack resources. You are standing still because your biology is playing a trick on you, a survival game designed for a world that no longer exists. Inside the deep, ancient architecture of your brain sits a small, almond-shaped sentry called the amygdala. Its only job is to keep you alive by keeping you safe. But in the modern world, safe has become the graveyard of greatness. Your brain perceives the risk of a new business, the vulnerability of a new relationship, or the audacity of a bold career move as a physical threat, a predator in the tall grass. So it triggers a stall. It creates a fog of hesitation that feels like logic, but is actually a sophisticated form of psychological retreat. This is the anatomy of the stall, a silent, neurological brake pedal that you have been pressing without even realizing it. When you feel that sudden wave of, not today, that isn't your intuition speaking. It is your ancient brain trying to anchor you to familiar. The familiar is comfortable, yes, but nothing ever grows in the velvet coffin of comfort. You must understand that your brain is not wired to make you rich, happy, or fulfilled. It is wired to make you survive. Fulfillment is your job. Wealth is your responsibility. To reach them, you must learn to outsmart the very biology that kept your ancestors from being eaten. You are not a victim of your biology. You are the architect of your evolution. We often mask this biological fear with what I call the sophisticated excuse. This is the most dangerous form of procrastination because it wears the suit and tie of productivity. It looks like doing the work, but it is actually a high-level hiding strategy. It is the endless cycle of market research, the 10th rewrite of the business plan, the obsession with the perfect logo, or the belief that you need one more certification before you can finally claim your seat at the table. You are hiding in the library. You are burying your potential under a mountain of spreadsheets and how-to videos. You are gathering wood for a fire you refuse to light. Think of the everyday architect, a person with a vision for a beautiful home who spends 20 years studying blueprints, visiting quarries, and interviewing carpenters, but never once strikes a shovel into the earth. The blueprints are pristine, but the family is still homeless. Or consider the famous story of the Wright brothers. While others with more funding, more prestige, and more planning were theorizing about flight in academic halls, two bicycle mechanics were in a field in Kitty Hawk, crashing, braking, and eventually soaring. They didn't wait for the theory to be perfect. They demanded the reality be born. They knew that planning without action is not a strategy. It is a hallucination. It is a dream without a heartbeat. You have been hallucinating for far too long. You've been mistaking the map for the territory. The map is a piece of paper. The territory is where the mud, the rain, the gold, and the glory live. When you tell yourself you are getting ready, what you are really saying is that you are afraid of being seen. You are afraid of the messy middle where you might look foolish, where you might stumble, where the world might see that you don't have all the answers yet. But here is the secret of the world class. Nobody has the answers at the start. The answers are earned in the arena, not found in the bleachers. The stall is a master disguise. It tells you that you are being responsible by waiting. It whispers that you are being diligent by overanalyzing. But let's be honest, right here, right now, in the silence of your own heart. Is that extra hour of research truly making you better, or is it just making you feel safe? Every time you choose to prepare instead of produce, you are reinforcing a neural pathway that equates safety with stagnation. You are training your nervous system to believe that the dream is a threat. You must break the cycle. You must forge a new path to the forest of your own mind, a path of radical, immediate execution. Imagine a seed. A seed is a masterpiece of potential, containing the blueprint for a towering oak tree. But if that seed stays in the packet because it's waiting for the perfect season, it eventually rots from the inside out. It was meant to be buried. It was meant to crack open in the dark, cold earth. The cracking is the action. It is painful, it is uncertain, and it is the only way to reach the light. Your life is that seed. Your ideas are the blueprints. But unless you are willing to crack, to break the shell of your sophisticated excuses, you will never see the sun. You will remain a potential success until the day they put you in the ground. You must become a hunter of your own excuses. When the thought arises, I just need to check one more thing, recognize it as a growl of the amygdala. When you find yourself cleaning your desk, instead of making the call, see it for what it is, a retreat. Do not judge yourself for these feelings. They are biological, but do not obey them. Mastery is the ability to feel the fear of the stall and move anyway. It is the precision of a surgeon who knows exactly where the cancer of later lives and cuts it out with the blade of now. The light of your future is bright, but it requires the heat of your current action to stay lit. You cannot think your way into a new life. You must act your way into a new way of thinking. The moment you move, the chemistry of your brain changes. Dopamine begins to flood the system. Momentum begins to build its own gravity. The sophisticated excuse evaporates when it is met with the fire of a person who has decided that done is better than perfect. Perfection is a ghost. It is a moving target that you will never hit. Excellence, however, is a mountain you can climb, and you start by taking the first step while your legs are still shaking. Let this be the moment the stall ends. Let this be the second where you stop being a student of your dreams and start being the master of your reality. The world does not reward what you know. It rewards what you do with what you know. There's a version of you, 10 years from now, looking back at this very moment. That version of you is either living in the abundance you create today or living in the regret of the move you didn't make. Which one will you choose to feed? The lie of preparation or the truth of power? Rise up, not with a shout, but with a step, not with a promise, but with a product, not with a someday, but with a this second. The anatomy of the stall is fragile. It cannot survive the impact of a committed human soul in motion. Break the glass. Pull the alarm. Step out of the library and into the light. Your greatness is not a destination you reach after enough planning. It is a frequency you tune into the moment you decide to stop king around and just do it. Rise higher. The arena is waiting. Chapter 2. The High Cost of Later. A year from now, you may wish you had started today. Karen Lamb. Listen closely. Can you hear it? It is the sound of a clock ticking in a room where no one is moving. That sound is not just a passing of seconds. It is the rhythmic thud of the tax collector knocking at your door. We often talk about the price of success, the sweat, the late nights, the discipline, the risk, but we rarely sit in the silence and calculate the price of staying the same. We have been lied to. We have been told that later is a safe harbor, a place where we can rest until the weather improves. But later is not a harbor. It is a graveyard, and it is the most expensive piece of real estate on this planet. It is filled with businesses that were never launched, books that were never written, and lives that were never truly lived. Every time you utter the word later, you are signing a check that your future self cannot cash. You are paying a high-interest tax on your soul, and the currency is your very life. This is the hidden cost of the stall. While you sit there waiting for the perfect alignment of stars, your potential is undergoing a slow, agonizing decay. Think a high-performance engine, built for speed, designed for the open road, forged for power. If that engine sits in a garage for 5 years without being turned over, it doesn't stay perfect. The oil turns to sludge. The gaskets dry and crack. The battery drains into nothingness. Motion is the only thing that preserves your brilliance. Stagnation is a corrosive acid that eats away at your confidence until you no longer recognize the giant that lives inside you. You think you are playing it safe by not starting, but you are actually guaranteeing a slow-motion disaster. You are paying for a life you aren't using. Let's look at the cold, hard mathematics of your hesitation. We think of wealth as something we will build one day, but wealth is a creature of time and momentum. Every month you spend getting ready, is a month where the compound interest of your effort is not working for you. You are not just losing the money you haven't made yet. You are losing the freedom that money buys. You are paying for your indecision with the hours you could have spent with your family, with the travels you could have taken, with the legacy you could have secured. The tax on later is paid in the currency of your freedom. It is the cost of staying in a job that drains your spirit because you were too careful to build your own bridge. It is the cost of watching others, people with half your talent but twice your courage, claim the territory that should have been yours. But the tax goes deeper than your bank account. It migrates into your biology. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes not from working too hard, but from doing nothing while knowing you were meant for more. It is a heavy, soul-deep fatigue. When you ignore your calling, your body feels a friction. Stress is not caused by the mountain in front of you. It is caused by the weight of the mountain you refused to climb yesterday. Your health is tied to your sense of purpose. When you move toward your vision, your nervous system lights up. Your immune system strengthens. You become electric. But when you stay in the grave of dreams, you invite a quiet, simmering resentment that poisons your sleep and weakens your heart. You are literally paying for later with your vitality. You are trading your heartbeat for a false sense of security. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of a vast, misty field. As the fog clears, you see thousands of headstones, but there are no names on them. Instead, there are ideas. The bakery that would have fed the neighborhood. The app that would have simplified lives. The father who would have been present. This is the grave of dreams. It is a silent, tragic monument to the word tomorrow. Most people spend their entire lives walking through this field, adding more stones to the pile, promising themselves that they will stop digging soon. They are more afraid of a no from a stranger or a fail from a project than they are the absolute, crushing silence of this graveyard. We must shift your perspective. Right now, you have been looking at the fear of failing through a magnifying glass, making it look like a monster. I want you to turn that glass around and look at the terror of remaining the same. Imagine yourself 10 years from today. You are sitting in the same chair, complaining about the same problems, harboring the same good ideas, and feeling the same gnawing emptiness in your gut. Your children are older, the world has moved on, and you are still preparing. That is the monster. That is the nightmare. The risk of starting is a paper tiger compared to the dragon of regret. Failure is a bruise. It heals. Regret is a hole in your soul, and it grows. You must develop a healthy, holy fear of the status quo. You must become more afraid of the grave of dreams than you are the messy, beautiful struggle to climb. Consider the life of a blacksmith. To create a blade that can cut through stone, the metal must be thrust into the white-hot center of the fire. It must be struck repeatedly with a heavy hammer. If the metal could speak, it would scream. It would beg for the coolness of the bucket. It would ask to be later. But if the blacksmith listens, if he pulls the metal out too soon, it remains a soft, useless hunk of iron. It will never hold an edge. It will never serve a purpose. Your challenges are the fire. Your actions are the hammer. Every time you step into the now, you are being forged. You are becoming sharper, stronger, more resilient. Think of a world-renowned athlete who grew up in poverty. They didn't have the perfect shoes or the right coaching. They had a ball and a patch of dirt. If they had waited for the perfect conditions, they would still be in that patch of dirt. They understood that the high cost of later was the life of poverty they were currently living. They used their hunger as fuel. They didn't negotiate with the morning. They conquered it. Or think of the single mother who starts a side business at 11 p.m. after her children are asleep. She is exhausted, her eyes are burning, but she knows that every hour she invests now is an hour she is buying back for her future. She refuses to pay the tax of later. She knows that a messy start is better than a perfect stall. She is forging her blade in the heat of the moment. The good news, the electrifying truth, is that the tax collector can be fired. You can stop the bleeding of your potential this very second, but you cannot do it by thinking about it. You cannot negotiate with a graveyard. You must walk out of it. You must decide that the cost of your current comfort has become too high. You must realize that you are too rich in potential to live such a poor life. Your time is not a renewable resource. It is a one-way street. Every second that passes is a second you will never see again. Why would you give those precious, golden moments to the god of later. Stop looking for the exit sign and start being the exit. The grave of dreams only has power over you as long as you remain still. The moment you take a step, even a shaky, uncertain, imperfect step, the fog begins to lift. The ground beneath your feet becomes solid. The tax stops accruing. You begin to earn back your confidence. You begin to earn back your health. You begin to earn back your life. You are not a spectator in this world. You are a creator. And creators do not wait for the right time. They make the time right. This is your neurological intervention. Your brain will try to tell you that this is just another motivational speech and that you can start tomorrow. Silence that voice. It is the voice of the grave. It is the voice that wants you to rot in the safety of your own excuses. Look at your hands. They are tools of creation. Look at your mind. It is a laboratory of infinite possibility. You are standing at the threshold of a rebirth. The fire is ready. The anvil is waiting. The only thing missing is your decision to strike while the iron is hot. Do not let this audio end and simply go back to your getting ready phase. Do one thing right now that scares you. Make the call. Write the first paragraph. Buy the domain. Send the apology. Launch the offer. Whatever it is, do it before the later demon can whisper in your ear again. The cost of your greatness is high, but the cost of your mediocrity is higher. One leads to a mountain peak where the air is thin and the view is eternal. The other leads to a quiet plot in a field of fog. The tax is due. How will you pay? Will you pay with the pain of discipline today, or the crushing weight of regret forever? There is no middle ground. There is no someday. There is only the holy, powerful, electric now. Don't F***K around. The time for being small is over. Rise up. Strike the hammer. Own your life. Chapter 3. Burn the map. Trust the compass. Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase. Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. We have been conditioned to worship at the altar of the map. From the time we are children, we are told to study the route, to highlight the landmarks, and to never venture into the woods without a detailed guide. We carry this conditioning into our adult dreams. We tell ourselves that we cannot launch the business until we have a 3-year forecast. We tell ourselves we cannot write the book until we know how the final chapter ends. We are obsessed with the 10-step plan, the foolproof strategy, the guaranteed outcome. But I am here to tell you that your map is actually your cage. It is a paper wall that keeps you from the reality of the journey. The map is a static, lifeless thing created by someone else's experience. Your life, however, is a living, breathing storm of possibilities. When you wait for the map to be perfect, you are waiting for a version of the future that doesn't exist. You are seeking certainty in a world that only rewards conviction. True power does not come from knowing every turn in the road. True power comes from the internal alignment that allows you to walk through the fog without flinching. This is a shift from the map to the compass. A map tells you exactly where to turn, but if the road is blocked, the map leaves you stranded. A compass, however, only points north. It doesn't tell you about the rivers you'll have to swim or the mountains you'll have to climb. It simply tells you which direction leads to your destiny. To reach the heights you were built for, you must be willing to burn the map. You must be willing to let go of the need to know how and replace it with an unshakable commitment to why. The how is a distraction for the timid. The why is the fuel for the relentless. There's a reason your mind craves that 10-step plan so desperately. Your brain is a prediction machine. Its primary function is to reduce uncertainty because, in the ancient world, uncertainty meant danger. When you don't have a plan, your prefrontal cortex goes into overdrive, trying to simulate every possible failure. This is why you feel that tightening in your chest when you think about starting without a safety net. But here's the neurological secret. The brain only learns through the prediction error. You cannot grow your intelligence or your intuition by following a preset path. Growth only happens when you encounter the unexpected and are forced to adapt. By demanding certainty, you are literally starving your brain of the very challenges it needs to become elite. You are trying to stay smart by staying safe, but true brilliance is forged in the chaos of the unknown. When you burn the map, you activate a dormant part of your spirit, the internal navigation system. Think of the migratory bird. It does not have a GPS. It does not have a weather report for the next 1,000 miles. It has a compass built into its very cells. It feels the pull of the magnetic north, and it flies. It trusts that the air will support its wings. It trusts that the destination is real even though it cannot see it. You have that same magnetic pull toward your greatness, that gnawing feeling in your gut, that persistent dream that won't leave you alone. That is your north. You don't need to see the destination to know you are headed the right way. You only need to trust the pull. We have a toxic obsession with perfect starts. We want the lighting to be right, the funding to be in place, and the audience to be waiting. But look at the history of every world-changing idea, and you will find a trail of messy, imperfect, and often embarrassing first steps. Consider the everyday entrepreneur who started a global logistics company not with a fleet of trucks, but with a single rusted bicycle and a commitment to deliver a package faster than anyone else. They didn't have a map for a global empire. They just had a compass that pointed toward speed. Or think of the legendary filmmaker who started by filming family dinners on a borrowed camera, making countless mistakes, learning the rhythm of the light not from a textbook, but from a failure of the previous shot. The path does not reveal itself to the person standing on the porch. The path only reveals itself to the person whose boots are in the mud. There is a spiritual law that states that the next step only appears once you have taken the current one. It is like driving a car at night. Your headlights only show you 200 feet in front of you, but you can drive across an entire continent that way. You don't need to see the coast of the next ocean. You just need to see the next 200 feet. By demanding to see the whole staircase, you are paralyzing your feet. You are waiting for a light that only comes to those who are already moving. Burn the plan. Trust the motion. Certainty is a luxury for those who play small. Conviction is a requirement for those who want to change the world. Certainty says, I will do it if I know it will work. Conviction says, I will do it until it works. One is a contract. The other is a covenant. When you operate from a compass of conviction, the obstacles don't stop you. They inform you. If you hit a wall, your compass still points north. You don't turn back and say the map was wrong. You find a way over, under, or through the wall because your direction is non-negotiable. Imagine a seed buried deep in the earth. It has no map of the surface. It doesn't know if there's a concrete sidewalk above it or a garden of roses. But it has a compass, an innate biological drive to grow toward the light. It doesn't wait for a 10-step plan for photosynthesis. It just starts pushing. It encounters rocks. It bends its roots. It navigates the dark. And eventually, it breaks the surface. You are that seed. Your light is your vision of wealth and impact. Stop asking for a diagram of the soil and just start pushing. The friction you feel is not a sign that you are lost. It is a sign that you are growing. There is a profound, electrifying freedom that comes when you finally admit that you don't know the whole way. It takes the pressure off your ego. You no longer have to be the expert who never fails. You get to be the explorer who always learns. This shift changes your energy from defensive to offensive. Instead of fearing the storm, you start to look for the wind that will carry you faster. You realize that the wrong turns were actually necessary detours to build the skills you'll need for the final stretch. Think of a master navigator in the ancient world. They didn't have satellite imagery. They looked at the stars. They read the patterns of the waves. They felt the temperature of the water. They were in a constant state of deep listening. Because they didn't have a map to mindlessly follow, they had to be more present, more aware, and more alive. This is what the compass does for you. It forces you to wake up. It forces you to engage with your life in the present tense. It turns your career, your finances, and your growth into a high-stakes adventure rather than a scripted rehearsal. Your map has served its purpose. It gave you the comfort you needed to start thinking. But now, it is time to set on fire. The edges are curling in the heat, and the ink is disappearing. Good. Let it go. The wind of your potential is picking up, and you cannot sail with your eyes glued to a piece of paper. Look up. Feel the pull of your north. What is the one thing you've been avoiding because you didn't have the perfect plan? What is the move you've been delaying because you couldn't see the finish line? That move is your initiation. It is the moment you stop being a student of how and become a master of now. The universe does not respond to your plans. It responds to your presence. It does not open doors for those who are ready. It opens doors for those who are running. You have enough information. You have enough talent. You have enough breath. Take the messy step. Make the imperfect offer. Speak the unpolished truth. The staircase will appear under your feet the moment you decide to climb. Trust the compass. Burn the map. Start now. Chapter 4. The 5-second rule of execution. If you have an impulse to act on a goal, you must physically move within 5 seconds or your brain will kill the urge. Mel Robbins. You are not a procrastinator. You are a person who has developed a habit of hesitation. There's a profound difference between who you are and what you have trained your nervous system to do. Every time an idea flashes in your mind, a spark of genius, a sudden urge to make a call, a prompt to speak up at a meeting, you have a 5-second window before your brain security system kicks in. In those first few seconds, you are pure potential. You are a lightning bolt ready to strike. But then the loop begins. Your brain, in its infinite desire to protect you from the discomfort of the unknown, begins to manufacture reasons. It creates a thick, heavy fog of doubt that settles over your spark until the fire goes out. This is a hesitation loop, a neurological trap that keeps the world's greatest treasures buried in the minds of people who simply waited 6 seconds too long. When you hesitate, you send a signal to your subconscious that your ideas are dangerous. You are effectively teaching your brain to be afraid of your own greatness. This isn't just a psychological glitch. It is a physical event. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for high-level decision-making and logic, gets hijacked by the more primitive parts of your mind. If you do not move, the brain concludes that the threat of the new idea has been neutralized by your inaction. It rewards you with a hit of relief, which is a sedative for the soul. To break this, you must understand that you cannot think your way out of a loop that was created by not moving. You must physically disrupt the signal. You must become the glitch in your own system. Imagine a rocket ship sitting on a launch pad. It is filled with millions of pounds of fuel, pure, concentrated power ready to pierce the atmosphere. But that rocket does not wait for the weather to be perfect or for the engines to feel like firing. There is a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. The countdown serves a singular purpose. It shifts the focus from the complexity of the mission to the simplicity of the start. It clears the mental field of all distractions and focuses every ounce of energy on the moment of ignition. This is what you must do with your life. You must treat your impulses for greatness like a mission-critical launch. When that inner voice whispers a command for growth, you do not negotiate. You do not ask for a second opinion. You count backward to shut down the chatter, and you move your body. Physical movement is the kill switch for hesitation. The moment you stand up, the moment you pick up the phone, the moment you hit send, the loop is shattered. You are leveraging the physics of momentum. An object at rest stays at rest, but an object in motion stays in motion. By moving within that 5-second window, you are bypassing the analytical brain and engaging the action identity. You are telling your nervous system, I am the one who moves. This is not about being reckless. It is about being responsive. It is about honoring the spark of life within you before the cold water of rationality can extinguish it. You are reclaiming the power of the strike. You are becoming the fire that refuses to be contained. Who are you when no one is watching? Are you a person who considers or a person who commits? Most of the world is comprised of considerers. They consider the possibilities, they consider the risks, and they consider the timing until the opportunity has passed them by. I want you to shed that skin like an old, outgrown garment. I want you to forge an action identity. This is the internal conviction that your default state is motion. Think of a world-class martial artist. They do not think about the punch. They are the punch. They have trained their bodies to react to an opening before the conscious mind can even register it. They have removed the gap between perception and execution. This identity is built in the small, invisible moments of your day. It is built when the alarm goes off and you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and throw your feet on the floor instead of hitting snooze. It is built when you see someone you need to network with, and you move toward them before the voice of what will they think can speak. These are the micro wins that rewire your neural pathways. You are literally building a new road in your brain, a high-speed highway where action is the only lane. Every time you move within that 5-second window, you are adding a brick to the fortress of your confidence. You are proving to yourself over and over that you are a person of power. You are no longer a victim of your thoughts. You are the commander of your actions. Consider a sailor caught in a sudden, violent storm. The waves are towering, and the wind is a screaming wall of force. In that moment, the sailor cannot sit on the deck and contemplate the metaphysics of the ocean. If they hesitate, the ship capsizes. They must move. They must grab the ropes. They must adjust the sails. They must steer with every ounce of their strength. Their survival depends on the speed of their execution. They don't need to feel ready. They just need to be present. The storm does not care about their feelings. It only responds to their adjustments. Your life is a ship, and your dreams are the far shore. The hesitation you feel is the wind trying to push you off course. If you wait to feel motivated, you are letting the storm win. Motivation is a fair weather friend. It disappears when the clouds gather. Execution, however, is the anchor. It is the steady hand on the wheel. When you apply the 5-second rule, you are navigating the storm of your own resistance. You are deciding that your destination is more important than the temporary discomfort of the waves. You are realizing that the only way to find calm water is to sail through the rough. You are the captain of the now, and your ship only moves when you do. We must be brutally honest. Any idea that you do not act upon within the first window of inspiration begins to turn into a hallucination. It loses its weight. It loses its color. It becomes a ghost that haunts your what-if files. We see this in everyday personas. The person who has been intending to start a fitness journey for 3 years, or the employee who has thought about asking for a raise every Monday morning but never finds the right energy. These people are living in a dream world. They are intoxicated by the thought of the result, but paralyzed by the reality of the start. Compare them to the everyday finisher. The person who isn't necessarily the smartest or most talented in the room, but the one who is always the first to start. When the boss asks for a volunteer, their hand is up before they even know the task. When they see a problem, they are halfway to the solution, while others are still defining the trouble. They aren't magical. They have just mastered the 5-second strike. They have realized that the world belongs to finishers, and finishers are just people who refuse to let their ideas die in the hesitation loop. They have traded the comfort of the perfect plan for the power of the imperfect start. They know that you can steer a moving car, but you cannot steer one that is parked. The clock is not just ticking. It is counting down. Somewhere in your mind right now, there is an action you know you need to take. It's been sitting there, gathering dust, waiting for you to feel like doing it. I am telling you, that feeling is never coming. It is a mirage. The only thing that is real is the count. I want you to identify that one task, the one that makes your heart beat a little faster, the one you've been **king around with for weeks, and I want you to prepare your countdown. Do not wait for this chapter to end, to begin your transformation. Your transformation is not in my words. It is in your muscles. It is in the movement of your hand, the sound of your voice, the rhythm of your stride. You are a biological masterpiece designed for expansion, not stagnation. The hesitation loop is a relic of the past. The 5-second rule is the key to your future. You have the insight. You have the science. You have the fire. Now, you must have the courage to count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch. Rise higher. The world moves for those who move first. Chapter 5. The Wealth of Momentum. Success is not a destination, it's a rhythm. It's the result of one small victory repeated until momentum becomes an avalanche. Tony Robbins. Listen to your heart for a moment, not as a muscle, but as a drum. It is the first machine of momentum you ever owned. It doesn't wait for a reason to beat. It simply provides a rhythm that keeps the rest of your life possible. This is the secret of the universe that the world-class understand and the stagnant ignore. Energy is not something you have. It is something you generate through motion. Most people are waiting for a lightning bolt of motivation to strike them before they start. They are like a car sitting on a cold hill, waiting for the wind to push them. But wealth, impact, and transformation do not respond to the wind. They respond to spark. This chapter is about success math, the divine geometry where one small, almost invisible action creates a ripple that eventually becomes a tidal wave. This is the wealth of momentum. Momentum is a psychological force of nature. It is a transition from the heavy, grinding effort of the start to the fluid, effortless glide of the finish. When you are standing still, every obstacle looks like a mountain. But when you are moving at full speed, those same obstacles are merely pebbles under your tires. The physics are simple. It takes more fuel to launch a space shuttle in the first few seconds than it does to travel the next 1,000 miles. Your life is no different. The hard part isn't the work itself. It's the overcoming of the static friction of your own doubt. Once you break that seal, the universe begins to work for you. You are no longer pushing the world. The world begins to pull you. We've been conditioned to look for the big break, the one lucky phone call, the one viral moment, the one massive investment. But relying on the big break is a gambler's strategy, and gamblers eventually lose. True wealth is built on the success math of the compound effect. Every time you complete a small task, a 5-minute workout, a single sales call, writing one page of your manifesto, your brain releases a hit of dopamine. This is not just a feel-good chemical. It is a neurological bridge to your next action. That tiny victory tells your nervous system, we are winners. We are people who finish. This creates a feedback loop. The small win gives you the energy to take a medium-sized step, and the medium step provides the power for a giant leap. Think of a massive, ancient steam engine. When it first starts to move, the wheels groan, smoke billows, and it seems like it's barely moving an inch. A child could stand in front of it and hold it back. But as those pistons keep firing, as the rhythm stabilizes, the engine gathers a terrifying amount of power. Within minutes, that same engine can crash through a brick wall without slowing down. That is your potential. Your small wins are the coal in the furnace. You might think that sending one email doesn't matter, but in the mathematics of momentum, that email is the spark that keeps the pistons moving. If you stop, you have to pay the static tax all over again. If you keep moving, the path of least resistance becomes a path of just doing it. Consider the metaphor of the river. A river doesn't cut through a rock because of its power, but because of its persistence. The river has momentum. It doesn't negotiate with the boulders in its path. It simply flows over, under, or around them. It is always in motion, always seeking the sea. When you live with momentum, you become the river. Your problems don't disappear, but they lose their power to stop you. You become fluid. You become adaptable. You start to see that failure is just a bend in the river, not the end of the journey. Think of the everyday athlete who decided to walk just 10 minutes a day. On day 1, it felt pointless. On day 10, they felt a slight change in their breath. By day 30, they were running. By day 90, their entire identity had shifted from someone who is tired to someone who is powerful. They didn't transform because of a miracle. They transformed because they refused to let the momentum die. Or consider the famous inventor who failed 10,000 times before finding the right filament for the light bulb. He didn't see 10,000 failures. He saw a 10,000-step journey of gathering data. Each failure was a small win because it narrowed the field. His momentum was internal. He was a train that had already left the station, and the light bulb was simply the destination he was guaranteed to hit. Why do we stop? We stop because we focus on how far we have to go instead of how much speed we have gained. We look at the mountain peak and forget that we have already mastered the foothills. This is where the static tax comes in. Every time you quit for a week, every time you let someday creep back into your vocabulary, your momentum drops to zero. To start again requires 10 times the energy. This is why most people are perpetually exhausted. They are constantly starting and stopping. They are forever in the launch phase, which is the most expensive and painful part of the journey. I want you to make a pact with your future self to never let the engine go cold. Even on your worst days, do something, anything, to keep the wheels turning. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you can't write a chapter, write a sentence. This is about maintaining the psychological force of the mover. When you keep the momentum alive, you bypass the need for willpower. Willpower is a limited resource that runs out. Momentum is a self-generating battery. When you are in motion, you don't need to force yourself to work. You simply work because that is what you're currently doing. You become a masterpiece of kinetic energy. Wealth is not just money in a bank. It is the accumulation of internal capital. As your momentum grows, so does your competence. As your competence grows, so does your confidence. This is the compound interest of the soul. You start to realize that you are capable of things that would have terrified you 6 months ago. The person you were at the start of the book is not the person who will finish it. You are being recoded, line by line, through the power of your own motion. Look at any person who has created lasting wealth from within. They aren't necessarily the hardest workers in the room today. They are the ones who have been moving the longest. They have years of momentum behind them. Their effortless success is actually the result of 1,000 small victories that have coalesced into an unstoppable force. They have reached the glide phase, where their reputation, their habits, and their mindset do the heavy lifting for them. But they all started exactly where you are, with a single, shaky, imperfect step that they refuse to let be their last. You are currently standing at the edge of your own inertia. The gravity of your past is pulling at your heels, trying to convince you that staying still is safer. But you know the truth now. You know that staying still is the only true danger. I want you to feel the heat of the engine beginning to turn. I want you to visualize the success math adding up in your favor. Every second you spend in action is a deposit into the bank of your future. Every small win is a brick in the fortress of your freedom. Do not look for the end of the road. Look for the next beat of the drum. What is the smallest possible action you can take right now to add coal to your fire? Do it, and then do the next thing. Do not let the engine stop. You are building an avalanche. You are creating a storm. You are becoming a force of nature that cannot be reasoned with, cannot be bribed, and cannot be stopped. The wealth of momentum is yours for the taking, but it only belongs to those who stay in the dance. Keep moving. The world is getting out of your way. Chapter 6. Killing the Perfectionist Demon. Perfectionism is a slow death. If you wait until you are ready, you will be waiting for the rest of your life. George Bernard Shaw. Take a deep breath and look directly into the mirror of your soul. We need to have a conversation about the most elegant liar in your life. It is the voice that tells you that you have high standards. It is the whisper that insists you wait until every detail is polished, every risk is mitigated, and every line is straight. You call it perfectionism. I call it fear in a tuxedo. It is nothing more than a sophisticated mask for your insecurity. It is your ego trying to protect itself from the judgment of others by refusing to show up until it is flawless. But flawlessness is a myth, a hollow statue that has no pulse. By chasing perfection, you are choosing a beautiful stasis over a messy, vibrant birth. You are effectively telling the universe that your pride is more important than your progress. This demon of perfectionism is a thief. It steals your time, it siphons your energy, and it murders your creative spirit before it can even draw its first breath. When you demand perfection from yourself, you are setting a trap that you will never escape. You are trying to build a skyscraper without getting dust on your clothes. It is impossible. Every great thing on this planet, every business that changed the world, every song that moved a generation, every invention that cured a disease, began as something ugly, unpolished, and barely functional. Perfectionism is a luxury of the spectator. The gladiator knows that the arena is filled with blood, dirt, and sweat. If you want to be unbeatable, you must first have the courage to be bad. Think of a master sculptor standing before a massive, jagged block of marble. Does he wait for the marble to look like a masterpiece before he touches it? No. He strikes the first blow. He creates a mess. Dust fills the air. Chunks of stone fly in every direction. The floor is littered with debris. At the beginning, it looks like a disaster. It looks ugly, but that ugliness is the price of admission for beauty. The master knows that the masterpiece is hidden inside the mess. If he were a perfectionist, he would spend his life polishing the raw block of stone, afraid to make the first cut. He would have a shiny rock, but he would never have a soul-stirring statue. You are the sculptor, and your life is the stone. You must give yourself the radical, holy permission to create an ugly first draft. Whether it's a business plan, a workout routine, or a new way of speaking to your family, let it be messy. Let it be unpolished. Let it be human. Neurologically, your brain cannot optimize what does not exist. You cannot steer a ship that is still in the dry dock. The ugly start is the only bridge to the legendary finish. When you accept the mess, you disarm the perfectionist demon. You take away its power by saying, I am allowed to be a beginner. I am allowed to fail my way into excellence. This is where true growth begins, in the cracks and the uneven edges of your first attempts. We live in a world of filtered images and curated successes, which only feeds a demon. We see the final product, the billionaire on the cover of a magazine, the athlete holding the trophy, the artist at the gallery, and we assume they arrived there in one clean leap, but we don't see the year zero. We don't see the 3 failed businesses that preceded the empire. We don't see the hundreds of hours of clumsy, uncoordinated practice. Consider the everyday creator who finally decided to launch a channel. The first 10 videos were dimly lit, the audio was shaky, and they stumbled over every third word. A perfectionist would have deleted those videos in shame. But by leaving them up, by moving through the bad phase, they built the muscle of consistency. Compare that to the person who spends 5 years designing their first video, buying the most expensive gear and obsessing over the color grading, only to never post it because it's not quite right. Who is the real winner? The one with the messy portfolio or the one with the empty hard drive? The world does not reward your intentions. It rewards your iterations. Every mistake you make in the beginning is a data point that perfection could never give you. Failure is the most honest teacher you will ever have. When you try to be perfect, you are trying to skip the lessons that are required for your mastery. You are trying to get the crown without the cross. The beauty of the messy middle is that it forges a level of resilience that a perfectionist can never understand. When you are willing to be bad and stay in the game, you develop a thick skin. You realize that a mistake is not an identity. It is an event. You begin to value the done over the perfect. This is the hallmark of the world-class performer. They don't have fewer failures than you. They have more. They have simply learned to move through them faster. They have realized that perfectionism is a cage, while imperfection is a doorway. Imagine a forest fire. To the untrained eye, it looks like pure destruction. It is chaotic, hot, and terrifying. But the forest needs a fire to clear out the dead brush and crack open the seeds that only sprout in extreme heat. The fire is messy, but it is the precursor to a rebirth that is more lush and vibrant than what came before. Your bad starts and your ugly drafts are your forest fire. They are clearing out the dead ego and the stale ideas. They are making room for the version of you that is truly formidable. You are not being destroyed. You are being refined. You are being forged in the heat of your own daring. There is a spiritual and financial liberation that comes from simply finishing. Done is a frequency. It is a state of completion that signals to the universe that you are ready for the next level. A perfectionist has 1,000 open loops, 100 half-finished projects that haunt their subconscious like ghosts. These open loops drain your power. They create a mental static that makes it impossible to focus. When you kill the perfectionist demon, you reclaim that energy. You decide that good enough and out the door is infinitely more powerful than perfect and in the drawer. Think of the everyday entrepreneur who launches a simple, unpolished service to help people in their neighborhood. It's not a global platform yet. It's just a person with a solution and a phone. Because they didn't wait for the branding agency or the legal team. They started earning immediately. They started learning from real customers. They started building momentum. Within a year, they had the funds to polish the business into something beautiful. They used the mess to fund the perfection. They understood that wealth is attracted to speed, and speed is a natural enemy of perfectionism. The tuxedo has to come off. The mask has to break. You have been playing a part. Try and convince the world and yourself that you are further along than you are. But there is no shame in the beginning. There's only glory in the grit. I want you to look at that project you've been hiding from. I want you to look at that dream you've been perfecting in the dark. And I want you to make it messy. Today, now, write the unpolished email. Record the grainy video. Launch the basic offer. Feel the discomfort of being imperfect and let it wash over you like a summer rain. It cannot hurt you. It can only clean you of the lie that you have to be flawless to be worthy. You are already worthy of the climb. You are already enough to start. The demon of perfectionism dies the moment you decide to be seen in your raw, honest, and evolving state. The world is not looking for your perfection. It is starving for your presence. It is waiting for the unique light that only you can bring, even if that light flickers a bit at the start. Rise higher. Embrace the mess. Be unbeatable. Chapter 7. The Emotional Intelligence of Grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just a month, but for years. Angela Duckworth. There is a moment in every great journey, after the champagne of the stars has gone flat, and before the victory flags are raised, that I call the desert of the fade. It is that silent, scorching stretch where the initial excitement has evaporated, the novelty is worn off, and all that remains is the work. This is where most dreams go to die. They don't die because the idea was bad. They die because the emotional muscle of the dreamer was too weak to handle the heat. You must understand that your feelings are the most unreliable narrators in your story. They're like the weather, shifting, unpredictable, and often disconnected from the truth of the season. To reach the wealth and the life you crave, you must learn to divorce your actions from your moods. You must become the master of the gap, that space between feeling like doing it and doing it anyway. This is the true definition of emotional intelligence. It is not about being happy all the time. It is about the ability to stay in the game when the happiness is nowhere to be found. Neurologically, your brain is wired to seek the path of least resistance. When the dopamine of the new idea fades, your brain begins to scream for retreat. It tells you that you are tired, that it's not working, or that you should wait for inspiration. But inspiration is a guest that only visits those who are already at their desks. Grit is the neurological bypass. It is the ability to override the temporary signals of discomfort and maintain the long-term frequency of your vision. You are not a slave to your neurochemistry. You are the commander of your character. In the absence of immediate results, most people collapse into doubt. They look at the data, the empty bank account, the lack of followers, the slow progress, and they conclude that the dream is a lie. But the world-class operate on a different frequency. Operational faith. This is not a blind, passive hope. It is a strategic, aggressive conviction. It is acting as if success is an absolute mathematical inevitability, even when the current data says otherwise. Operational faith is a decision to move with the same intensity on the day you have 0 results as you will on the day you have 1,000,000. It is the understanding that the data is just a lagging indicator of your past thoughts. Your future is being built by your current movement, not by your current circumstances. Think of a farmer who has just planted a field of seeds. If he were to dig them up every morning to see if they were growing, he would kill the harvest. He cannot see the roots forming in the dark. He cannot see the biological labor happening beneath the surface. But he operates with faith. He waters the dirt. He clears the weeds. He protects the field. He doesn't wait to see a sprout before he decides to be a farmer. He is a farmer because he does the work while the field looks empty. You must become the farmer of your own wealth. You must treat your daily actions as sacred rituals that are birthing a reality that hasn't arrived yet. Your grit is the water. Your discipline is the fence. The harvest is a certainty, provided you do not abandon the field when the sun gets too hot. Grit is not a personality trait. It is a muscle that is forged in the fire of no. Every time you choose a task over the nap, you are adding a fiber to that muscle. Every time you make the uncomfortable call while your stomach is in knots, you are increasing your emotional capacity. Most people have flabby spirits because they have spent their lives avoiding anything that makes them sweat. They want the lifestyle of the winner without the metabolism of the winner. But wealth has a specific weight, and if you haven't built the muscle to carry it, you will drop it the moment it gets heavy. Consider the everyday apprentice, a person learning a complex trade. In the beginning, their hands are soft. They get blisters. Their back aches. They look at the master, who moves with grace and speed, and they feel like an imposter. A person without grit quits in the first week, complaining that the work is too hard. But the one with emotional intelligence knows that the blisters are the body's way of creating armor. They welcome the ache because they know it is the feeling of their old self dying to make room for the new. They don't need to feel motivated to pick up the tools. They pick up the tools because the tools are the only way to the master's seat. They have realized that the pain is just information. It is the resistance that creates the strength. During a storm, the trees that survive are not the ones with the prettiest leaves. They are the ones with the deepest roots. Leaves are for the sunny days. They are the excitement and the passion that everyone sees. But roots are for the dark, the cold, and the pressure. Roots grow best when the wind is blowing hard, forcing the tree to anchor itself deeper into the earth. Your grit is your root system. When your initial passion, the leaves, gets blown away by a setback or a rejection, it is your roots that keep you standing. Think of a legendary scientist who spent decades in a windowless lab searching for a cure. For 19 years, the data said no. For 19 years, the world ignored them. Their leaves had dried up long ago, but their roots were wrapped around a singular conviction. They didn't need the world to tell them they were right. They had the internal sovereignty to know they hadn't finished yet. Or think of the single parent working 2 jobs while studying at night. They aren't fueled by excitement at 2 a.m. They are fueled by the root of their love for their children. That is the emotional intelligence of grit. It is finding a why that is so heavy it anchors you through any how. We must address the most common trap of the stall, the feeling fallacy. You have been taught to believe that you need to be in the right headspace to perform. You think you need to meditate, caffeinate, and manifest yourself into a state of peak energy before you can do the work. This is a form of procrastination. The elite have learned a different truth. The action creates the feeling. You don't wait to feel powerful to start. You start, and the power finds you in the middle of the motion. Grit is the bridge that carries you over the gap when the feeling is missing. If you are waiting for the spirit to move you, you are at the mercy of your environment. But if you move the spirit, you are the master of your environment. Operational faith means you show up to the office of your dream, whether you feel like a giant or a mouse. You don't negotiate with your alarm clock. You don't consult your mood before you execute. You treat your commitment as a legal contract with your soul, and you do not break the law. When you close the gap between your intention and your action, the desert of the fade begins to bloom. The very work that felt like a burden becomes the source of your energy. This is your moment of self-reflection. Look back at the last 6 months. How many times did you stop because the feeling was gone? How much wealth have you left on the table because you weren't inspired? That ends today. I want you to identify the most boring, difficult, or uninspiring part of your current mission. I want you to look at it not as a chore, but as a grit training session. That task is your gym. That difficulty is your barbell. Do not ask for the journey to get easier. Ask for your roots to grow deeper. Do not pray for more passion. Pray for more operational faith. The excitement will come and go, but your grit is your own. It is the only thing you truly possess that cannot be taken by the market, the economy, or the critics. You are building an empire of the now, and empires are built brick by brick, regardless of the weather. Stand up, grab your tools. The desert is where the kings and queens are crowned, and they are crowned only when they refuse to stop walking. Rise higher, strengthen the root, own the grind. Chapter 8. The Sovereignty of Done. Continuous effort, not strength or intelligence, is the key to unlocking our potential. Winston Churchill. Take a moment to breathe and feel the invisible pressure surrounding your mind. Most people are not exhausted because of what they're doing. They are exhausted because of what they have left unfinished. Every half-written email, every almost launched project, and every intended conversation is a leak in your power. In the world of high-performance psychology, we call these open loops. Each one is a tether that keeps your soul anchored to the past, draining your neurological bandwidth and stealing the focus you need to create wealth. You've been told to trust the process. But I am here to tell you that the process is a means to an end. The world does not pay you for your process. It rewards you for your results. It is time to step into the sovereignty of done, the state of being where you stop being a starter and start being a finisher. When you finish something, When you truly ship the product or close a deal, you experience a spiritual and biological rebirth. Your brain clears the cache. The done frequency sends a signal to your nervous system that you are closer. It releases the heavy burden of someday and replaces it with the crystalline clarity of achievement. You cannot build a castle out of intentions. You cannot feed your family with potential. You must become obsessed with the finish line. You must develop a hunter's instinct for the done. This is the final frontier of your transformation, the moment you decide that your word is law, and that when you start a fire, you stay until the iron is forged. There is a specific chemical reward that only comes to those who cross the line. While the starter gets a quick hit of dopamine from a novelty of a new idea, the finisher receives a deep, sustained surge of serotonin and pride that redefines their very identity. Every time you leave a task at 90%, you are teaching your brain that you are a person who cannot be trusted with the final 10. You are training yourself to quit when the resistance is highest. But when you push through the wall the final inch, you rewire your brain for victory. You create a finisher's identity that becomes your greatest financial asset. People who finish are rare. Therefore, they are valuable. The marketplace is crowded with people who have great ideas, but it is an open field for those who actually deliver. Think of the everyday author, a person who has written a book in their head for a decade. They have thousands of notes, beautiful outlines, and a brilliant title. But until that book is printed, bound, and available to the world, it does not exist. It is a ghost. It provides no value, generates no wealth, and changes no lives. Now, compare them to the person who writes a simple, imperfect, but finished book in 30 days and puts it on the shelf. That person has entered the sovereignty of the done. They have a tangible asset. They have closed the loop. They have earned the right to move to the next level. Wealth is attracted to the finished work, not the polished theory. The greatest enemy of done is the temptation to add just one more thing. We tell ourselves we are perfecting the work, but we are usually just stalling because we are afraid of the world's reaction. Done is an act of bravery. It is the moment you stop tinkering in the dark and step into the light of public scrutiny. You must learn to ship into the storm. You must be willing to put your work into the world before you feel ready, before it's perfect, and before you are certain of the outcome. Perfectionism is a slow poison. Done is the antidote. Consider the everyday coder who builds a new piece of software. They could spend years adding features, fixing every minor pixel, and agonizing over the code. But the master coder knows that the only way to truly improve is to release the beta. They ship it. They let the users find the bugs. They let the market provide the feedback. By declaring the work done for now, they gain the data they need to make it better later. They understand that a done product that is 60% perfect is infinitely more valuable than a perfect product that is 0% finished. You must stop protecting your ideas and start releasing them. The light of the world is the only thing that can truly refine your work. There's a profound peace that lives on the other side of a finished task. It is the sovereignty of the finished soul. When you walk through your life with no open loops, you walk with a lightness that others cannot understand. You are not haunted by the ghosts of your procrastination. You are not weighed down by the I should have and I'm going to. You are fully present in the now because the past has been accounted for. This liberation is the fertile soil where true wealth grows. When your mind is clear of the clutter of unfinished business, you can see opportunities that were previously hidden by the fog of your own incompletion. Imagine a master weaver creating a tapestry. Each thread is a thought. Each color is an action. If the weaver leaves 100 threads dangling, the tapestry is just a mess of string. But when they tie the final knot, when they snip the excess and stand back, the pattern is revealed. The work becomes a whole. It has a life of its own. Your life is that tapestry. Every time you finish a chapter, every time you close a loop, you are tying a knot that secures your future. You are creating a pattern of excellence. You are proving to the universe that you can be trusted with more because you have mastered the done of the small things. Most people quit when they are 95% of the way there. They quit when excitement is gone and only the boring administrative details remain. They quit when they have to do the paperwork, the follow-up calls, or the final polish. But the final inch is where the gold is buried. The first 90% of the work is for you. It's for your growth and your learning. The final 10% is for the world. It's where the value is realized. If you don't finish the final 10, you have essentially worked for free. I want you to look at your life right now. Identify the dangling threads. What is the project that is almost there? What is the offer you've been meaning to send? What is the loop that has been draining your energy for months? I am calling you to the sovereignty of done. I am calling you to stay in the chair until the knot is tied. Do not start anything new until you have finished what is old. Clear the deck. Ship the work. Close the loop. The wealth you seek is not in the next great idea. It is hidden in the shadows of the things you haven't finished yet. This is the end of this chapter, but it must be the beginning of your legacy as a finisher. You have moved through the anatomy of the stall, the cost of later, and the physics of momentum. You have the tools. You have the mindset. Now, you must have a sovereign will to say, "It is finished." When you speak those words, the universe stands at attention. Doors open that were previously locked. Resources appear that were previously invisible. Why? Because the universe finally believes you. Stand up and look at your kingdom. A kingdom is not built by dreamers. It is built by finishers. It is built by those who stayed when it was boring, who pushed when it was hard, and who shipped when they were afraid. You are no longer a victim of your own hesitation. You are the sovereign master of your execution. Go to that unfinished work. Strike the final blow. Tie the final knot. Enter the rest that only the done can provide. Rise higher. Close the loop. Be the finisher. Conclusion. The wealthiest place in the world is not the gold mines of South America or the oil fields of Iraq. It is the graveyard. There you will find inventions never created, businesses never erected, and songs never sung. Do not go to your grave with your greatness still inside you. Les Brown. The sound of my voice is about to fade into the silence, but understand this. That silence is not an empty space. It is a vacuum, a hollowed-out canyon waiting for the thunder of your roar to fill it. You are no longer the person who pressed play an hour ago. You have been handed the neurological keys to bypass your own fear, the spiritual fire to burn to fog of someday, and the cold, surgical precision of psychological blueprint designed for conquest. But let us be brutally clear. Words are nothing but hollow vibrations, ripples in the air that vanish as soon as they are spoken, unless you have the courage to crush them into the red clay of the earth with your own footsteps. Knowledge without execution is just a more expensive way of staying stuck. It is a mental masturbation that makes you feel productive while your life remains in a state of decay. Hope is a beggar, standing on the corner of your potential, asking for a handout it hasn't earned. Tomorrow is a ghost, a shimmering, lying phantom that will haunt you until you are cold in the ground. And yesterday? Yesterday is a vault that has already been cleared. There is no more gold to be found in your past mistakes or your previous glories. The only territory you truly own, the only square inch of soil where your empire can take root and scream toward the sky, is a single electric heartbeat pulsing in your chest right now. Every second you spend preparing, every minute you spend getting ready to get ready, is a second you spend dying in the fluorescent-lit waiting room of your own life. The initiation is over. The talking is finished. The universe has stopped listening to your promises and is now watching your hands. It is waiting to see if you are a creator who leaves a mark on the world, or just another consumer who leaves a hole in the seat. This is the moment of the great divide. Stand up. Step out of the fog of your own excuses. Stop negotiating with your destiny. Don't fuck around. Just do it.